Alright, so I'm off today. I'm waiting for the guy to come out to measure up some fence for me. And I got a little bit of an update of what's going to be happening in the next few months, what we're doing, and what I'm going to be doing next. I really like this heater. It's like 14 degrees here in Northeast Ohio, and it's pretty toasty down here. Alrighty. Let's get this thing situated, set up. Okay, so this summer we're going to have what we call a ghetto beater shootout. A few videos ago, Drew dragged home a 78, 79 two-door Malibu. It's not the cleanest thing. It's solid, but it was rescued from a scrapyard. Previous owners were some folks that probably shouldn't have been working on cars, to say that very nicely. So we saved it, he saved it, and little by little they're going to turn it into, I don't know, if a street strip. You know, his goal is a low 12-second car. I'm not speaking for him, you know, and he said he wanted to do things in stages. He wants to get a baseline on it, see what it runs maybe with a crappy gear. It's got a crappy 305 in it now. But little by little, I think he said he wanted to go with a 5-speed, and he's got a 350 he built. He's had since he was basically a teenager. So it's going to be a low-budget, fun car, you know. Little by little, it's not going to cost him an arm and a leg. You know, he's got minimal investment, and it's just going to be a fun car to whoop on. And we have this rivalry where he's, you know, he's old school small block Chevy guy, which is fine. You know, that's what you're into. I ran Oldsmobile engines for years, and everyone was making fun of me because it wasn't a small block Chevy. Getting to the point, so he's going to have his car, and you know, I got my S10. The S10, it's pretty quick, it runs good, but it's not the same comparison. It's not apples for apples. So we have my brother's 77 Cutlass, which has been sitting dormant for the better part of 3 years. I'm going to take this 4.8 I got down here. I've mentioned it a couple times in other videos. I was planning on doing standalone harness setup, you know, utilizing factory ECU. I got the MSD 6010, that's for Dad. Dad's old school, he's getting a carburetor. So anyways, I got these ECUs stacked up. And I'm like, you know, I'm very partial to running a carb, even on newer engines, because they're simple. I mean, yeah, you spend a little bit of money on intake, ignition controller, and carburetor if you buy it new, but it's a simple setup. I mean, a brainless idiot could make one of these boxes work. I mean, even if it doesn't run the best, you can make it work, you can make it run, you can drive your car. Somebody with a little bit more intelligence can dig in there, use the MSD controller, and make yourself a custom ignition curve. So, I'm not trying to, you know, talk everybody's ear off. You guys got important things to do, funny memes to catch up on, funny videos to watch, but I was doing a little bit of research, and I'm not going to run a carburetor. I'm not going to go with factory EFI. I'm going to go with a Microsquirt setup. Here's our website. From the makers of Microsquirt. I'll be right back, I forgot my notes. That's like, why the hell would you want to run something like that? Well, for starters, the cost come on guys, 90% of us, 90% of my subscribers, we're all about a good budget. You want to go fast, you don't want to spend a lot of money. That's part of the game, that's part of the challenge, that's part of the fun, that's where the creativity comes in. Anybody can go to Summit Racing and spend $5 grand on a crate engine. Lottie frickin' da. This is part of our hobby, this is our sport, this is our livelihood, this is what we enjoy. Going fast for not that much money. But not trying to get derailed. Let's stay on focus here. The Microsquirt's a small unit, a little bit bigger than a credit card. It doesn't weigh anything, it's just a simple circuit board. The way you can get it, I'm going to buy ours through EFI Source. It's about $400 shipped. It comes with an 80-inch harness. It already has the updated firmware. It already has the sloppy bass tune. And to tune it, you can use whatever you want. I mean, but for most novices, including myself, you can use Tuner Studio. And this archaic beast here was purchased off my good friend Alex for 50 bucks. This IBM ThinkPad from like 98, 99. I use it because I use it for my MSD. I use it when I set the timing curves because it's got a DIN 9 port in the back. And I use it because for tuning programs like this, it's simple and same deal, serial port. But Tuner Studio, I can't open up anything because obviously I haven't purchased the Microsquirt yet, so it's really not that valuable to share any more about it. But Tuner Studio, you don't have to register, you can download it for free. But back to the nitty-gritty, the important parts. It's a very simple setup. What you don't need to run a big bulky mass airflow sensor. It runs, it gets the air readings off your air intake temp, and it gets the off your map sensor. You know, so it's basically a speed density setup. You don't need a knock sensor. You don't need an idle air motor. You can, it's recommended, I mean, if you want to get a little more involved, but some folks just, you can just tune it like an old carburetor. You know, you set your set screw to have your throttle blade open to where you need it, and then obviously you're going to have to do a reset on your TPS to make sure that matches up. So, but the sensor's required. It's simple. You know, all you need is throttle position sensor, obviously, your crank sensor, obviously, map sensor, coolant temp, air inlet temperature sensor. It's kind of a given. You know, you need to know your coolant temp. You need to know your air inlet temperature sensor as well. And obviously you need them for your coils and your plugs for your coils and your injectors. This is a batch fire unit. It fires 4 coils at once. And some folks are like, well, that's kind of, I'm sorry, it fires 4 injectors at once. And folks would be like, well, how does that, you know, you're firing injectors when you have closed cylinders. How does that work? I mean, a lot of high-end race cars that are fuel injected, they're batch fired. The fuel's not getting wasted. Compared to sequential fuel injection, you're maybe going to be down 1 or 2 miles per gallon. But for what we're doing anyways, does fuel economy really matter? No, it's still going to be better than a carburetor. And it's also waste fire setup. You know, it'll fire on your power stroke, and the coils also fire on the exhaust stroke. It's not that big of a deal. A lot of OE manufacturers use waste fire ignition setups, and you don't even know it. A lot of times waste fire is used to cut down on the amount of technology and drivers that are used inside the ECU. And it cuts down on heat, cuts down on cost. So there's nothing wrong with two coils firing at once, as long as they're timed correctly, of course. So that's about it. Like I said, I'm going to buy mine through EFI Source. I believe I talked to Mike. I emailed him, and basically the Microsquirt LS setup from him already comes modified. It comes with, there's a couple resistors they add I think 2 extra channels for the 2 extra ignition channels. Well, I mean, that's neither here nor there. I mean, you get it from him, it's already set up. You don't even have to worry about it. But they make it easy. So for basically 400 bucks ship, maybe a little more than $400, you get a entry-level EFI setup that most of us would use. This is perfect for racing. This is perfect for you know, weekend cruiser. I mean, I'm not trying to deter you guys from using the factory stuff. Factory stuff is great, but how much is the HPTUNERS? $500–600 for the kit. It's quite a bit of money. I mean, this is a bit less, and that's what led me to going to this decision. You know, I'm already 90% done with Steve's harness, and I'm like, well, I still have to spend $300–400 to have it tuned. I'm like, well, why should I do that when I can spend $300 to $400 on an EFI setup and tune it myself with a very simple program? Downloaded it, obviously. Thank you to Microsquirt and Tuner Studio. Like I said, I'm going to give it a shot. If anybody has any input, questions, comments, if you guys have had experience with Microsquirt and Microsquirt, you know, I'm getting started on this. I'm just getting my feet wet. I can't claim to know anything about anything. I physically don't have it. And we'll be buying here in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, it's the route we're gonna take, or we're gonna try, and we're gonna see what happens. There's a lot of folks that have had great luck with it, running it on motorcycles to boats to small ATVs. So I think his little 4.8, it's going to work out perfect with a very simple setup. But the back track, we're going to, this summer, our ghetto beater shootout is going to, it's going to be budget based. I don't think we're going to put a monetary amount on it. No, it's like, oh, we got $1,000 budget or this and that. But I mean, basically the premise is, hey, we're going to use common sense here. We're going to, his engine's going to get a sloppy stage 2 cam, pack 12-18 springs, probably cheapy eBay long tube headers, and the only other serious expense may be an oil pan. That's it. The car's got a turbo 400 with a shift kit. You got a 3200 stall converter we never installed 3 years ago, and it's got 373 posi. It's been sitting. He's had the car for about 4 years already and barely driven it, and he wants to get it on the road, and he likes the underdogs. He wants to give the 4.8 a shot. I'm like, well, get ready to spin this engine at 7,000 RPM, but hey, I have hardly anything into it. You blow it to pieces, you go to the junkyard and get another one, like everybody else. Alright, so there's my day off, cold Wednesday update for you guys. We're going to do some ghetto beater racing this summer. If anyone lives in Northeast Ohio, maybe we can meet up. We're going to probably go out to Quaker City Motorsports, maybe Dragway 42. And that's it. I'm going to give this Microsquirt a shot. If I like it, I'm going to throw it on the S10. I don't know, maybe I won't throw it on the S10. I'm kind of done with the truck. I just want to enjoy it. I don't want to work on it anymore. So, alright. Hopefully this wasn't too much of a talking point, and I'll talk to you guys really soon. I appreciate it.